Hello? There it is. Yep. Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here. Yeah. Yeah, thank you for helping us make a sale. Hello. Always appreciated. Thank you all so much for being here and everybody tuning in. Really thrilled this evening to welcome Cynthia Marie Hoffman and Lauren Russell celebrating new books. Those are Exploding Head by Cynthia Marie Hoffman and A Window That Can Neither Open Nor Close by Lauren Russell, and those are on Persia Books and Milkweed Editions, respectively. So thank you both for being here. It's really wonderful. I'll keep my part in this very brief. I do want to say, in addition to those books, which you should get copies of, there is also this really fantastic broadside, which is available for free. So that is at the front. Thank you, Lauren, for bringing those. And are they printed by Milkweed? Is that? Okay, yeah. So you have a broadside, or you can, per the instructions, cut it up and play a poetic game of chance. So really wonderful. Thank you. And then I want to say, I just want to mention a couple of things then that are upcoming, and then we'll just roll right into it. Those are next Friday, May 3rd at 7 p.m. We have Resound Return, our monthly open mic, which is a good, chill, nice, fun time, hosted by Antonio Vargas Nieto, assistant programming director here, and that's always great. So Friday, May 30th at 7 p.m. The other thing I want to mention is that then it's June. It's almost June, everybody. That's it. All right. But no, that means that Poetry in the Park returns to Juneau Park. So I really hope you will join us there for the first of those readings, so Poetry in the Park, our summer reading series, which is monthly. To recap, Friday, May 30th, 7 p.m., bring your poems here and share them at the open mic. Tuesday, June 10th at 6:30, not here at Juneau Park, hanging out with our good friend Solomon Juneau and his big musket under the statue in the park, which is where the outlets are. So power on the pedestal and power through the outlets. So, summer of power. Okay. All right, so I think that's all, yeah. So anyway, stay tuned. We'll have our next print newsletter coming up very soon and stuff on the website, so we'll have things out there to let you know what else is going on. But I wanted to mention specifically those two things that are very near, temporally speaking. Okay, so on to the reading. Really a great pleasure to first welcome Cynthia Marie Hoffman. Cynthia Marie Hoffman is the author of 4 collections of poetry, most recently Exploding Head, an OCD memoir in prose poems. Her essays are in Time, The Sun, Lit Hub, and elsewhere, and her poems have been published in Electric Literature, The Believer, the Indianapolis Review, and other venues. Cynthia lives in Madison, Wisconsin. Please welcome Cynthia Marie Hoffman.
Thank you so much, Mike. Thanks to Woodland Pattern for having us here today, and for all of you for coming out. I'm honored to read here tonight with Lauren Russell. We both have a connection to Wisconsin as we came up to UW for our fellowships, postgraduate fellowships. I came up here from Northern Virginia 20 years ago for that fellowship and stayed in Wisconsin. There's a wonderful literary community in Madison where I live, and I'm honored to be here at Woodland Pattern, where there's also a wonderful literary community in Milwaukee. So I'm going to be reading tonight from primarily Exploding Head, which is my 4th collection and most recent. It is an OCD memoir in prose poems. So OCD is obsessive compulsive disorder. The book moves chronologically from my childhood up through adulthood, so I'm going to start by reading some childhood poems. You can kind of get to know me a little. Like this. The bad part of your mind was still asleep when you walked with your mother at the playground's edge. Like this, you said, and she lifted the camera. Crouched among ferns, you almost couldn't feel the soft arrows pointing you out from all directions. Meanwhile, your sister's swing swished and lulled the blur of her yellow dress. The bad part of your mind was a leaf slick in the rain, a slug clinging to the leaf. Not even your mother knew it was there. In the picture, ringlets dangle at your ears. Even then, whispers funneled through their halls. The smear of light that trailed behind your sister's body dissolved and was drawn again. What did you think your life would become? Tonight, the moon, with barely a face formed on it. There is an angel that appears throughout the book and is an actual figment of my imagination, but actual angel who lived in my room, who accompanied me and terrified me my entire life. Up through adulthood, that angel stood in my room at night by the closet door in every house and apartment and dorm room and hotel room I lived in. The angel. The angel stands in your room, its presence a dense swelling in the dark. You lie in bed. You are afraid of angels. You sleep, you wake. The angel wants its whisper swirling in your ear. If it gets the chance, the angel leans over the bed. You wake, you sleep, your pale ear glows in the dark, a whirl of petals parading the tunnel to your child brain. Cover your ear. You have been chosen. The angel is going to tell you the secret of heaven. Bury your ear in the quilt. The angel never leaves you. You sleep, you wake, one ear in the pillow, one ear in the quilt. The angel breathes. What else could you do? The quilt is a field of tiny pink flowers. You get a thought in your head. You sit on the stoop, staring at your hand. A prickly fat hedgehog waddles along the fence. The space between your thumb and your middle finger is a 0, and the sound is swish. But the sharp snap in your sister's palm is a twig breaking. Why can't you make that sound? You get a thought in your head. Your sister runs in the dappled yard in her shorts, cracking shafts of sunlight open with her thumbs. The concrete stings your legs. You get a thought in your head, and it's carving a hollow in your chest. In the afternoon, your mother takes you across the street to the neighbor's yard, where you pick a raspberry from the trellis, the quiet hall of leaves. In your palm, a pinkish, bulbous heart, a deeply scooped out emptiness. Sweet, sweet fruit. The only one who ever told you you were stupid was you. There's a hedgehog walking through the yard because we lived in England when I was very little. And here's another poem from England. There's a game called Conkers where you tie those big seeds, I'm trying to find the name of them in my poem, at the end of a string, and you like swing them at each other and you try to break the other person's seed open. And that was called Conkers in England, and it was just so much fun. But you'll probably hear the darker side in this poem as well. Conkers. And the OCD part of it is the rules that come up. Once you smuggled home some of the blue stones that marked the graves beyond the hedge. For the time you secretly held them, pressing indentations in your palm, they seemed like hardened lumps of water, the possibility of transformation. You might become something else, like the dead. The kids swing horse chestnut seeds, bigger than marbles, from a string. The object is to bash open the wrinkled meat inside. But when they swing and miss, they seem to be knocking at an invisible door that hangs between them, and that is worse. You have your own game, and you must play it quietly in your mind, just as the dead must swim in the field alone, each in their own rectangular pool. The rules are, count the sides of the rectangles. Graves, gravestones, the rules are, if you don't count, you'll die. When the seeds of the maple tree whirl to the street, you peel the wing apart to find a moist green brain with the idea of a tree enclosed in its folds. Maybe the seed in your brain will never become anything, but there is magic in the game that barricades the door from opening. There is a lot of gun violence as well that kind of touches across the collection. OCD tends to pin itself to certain fears that become themes that come up over and over throughout your life. It's very repetitive. And so this is one about gun violence and the constant thought of getting shot. You with the getting shot. I'm a little older at this point, older and working, walking to the lake by my office. It is a crisp autumn day when you get shot walking by the parking lot on your way to the lake. An arm goes up. A gun blows a hard kiss. You continue down the path, stepping around the acorns. You already got shot twice this morning. Always you with the getting shot. You need to just let it pass. The lake goes on, dragging the heavens this way and that. Your skin grows over the bullet. You sit at the shore with your back to the park pavilion where someone dismounts a bicycle and pulls out a gun. Your body fills like a penny jar with bullets, heavy on the park bench. You watch the clouds getting snarled in rippling water, angels drowning in their tangled skirts. Someone creeps in the trees. Someone's breathing down your back. There are no bones left in your body that aren't a clattering procession of bullets. You just need to rest for a bit by the lake. One after another, the white knots bob toward the shore, but never fully arrive. Even if they did, even if they tumbled, gasping at your feet in their gauzy threads, you with your buckshot hands, your mind a shuddering animal hunkered down inside your skull, heaven help you, couldn't do a thing about it. Quality of life. Part of the problem is that you were in a horrific accident on your way here and you are already dead. Your body disrobes. The skins of your hands float freely in the marsh, starfish among the cattails. But would you say your quality of life is affected? You've left a dozen bodies behind just today. One drowned in the bathtub, several wandering blindly in the kitchen, clanging into each other like wind chimes. One floats inside the sunken car just below the overpass. Now that it's getting dark, the frogs are springing from their cool, fat bellies. Who will come in wading boots to scoop your palms into a net? You are just vapor and light, pulled loosely in this chair, neither ghost nor angel. Right at this moment, an airplane is crashing through the roof, which is a thing that really happens. Many of the things in this collection and that my OCD is attached to are things that truly happen to people. And I struggled with writing about gun violence or fear of gun violence when there are people who are affected in their daily lives by gun violence. So I had to find a way to focus on only my experience and what I know in the interior of my own mind, and acknowledge that that is an experience that I own, that I want to share and write about. And I couldn't also speak about OCD in general because I only know my experience, and there are so many different ways that OCD can manifest. In fact, as I wrote the collection, I never used the term OCD at all, or obsessive compulsive disorder at all throughout the collection. It's only listed on the back in the description of the book as an OCD memoir in prose poems. And for a long time, right up to when we were writing this description and I was discussing it with my publisher, I was thinking I could get away with publishing the book without saying OCD at all. But I was being read and being misdiagnosed. People saw an angel. They thought I had schizophrenia. There were a lot of things that were being interpreted that weren't quite right. And a lot of it also comes from a misunderstanding around OCD and what it can encompass. So I felt finally it was really important for me to write my own experience, but also to name it for others who may not know what OCD can look like. There's a poem in the book called Diagnosis, but of course it doesn't name what the diagnosis is. But I think it gets to the heart of the matter. Diagnosis. How would you characterize the counting? Drawing a star on the face of everyone you meet. Right now, are you counting these windows? Yes, but only the edges that make the windows. What is the thing you are most afraid of? Dying. The star peels from your face and floats through the window. In the mornings, you descend the stairs, counting the railings of the banister. They rise as hammers inside a piano to make a silent music in your palm. Beyond the window, star-shaped leaves dangle in the tree, turning on their thin necks. What are you afraid of? Dying, the wind in their faces. There are a couple poems in the book that just try to get across how irritating the counting is and the OCD is, because I think that there's something that language can't even do, no matter how hard I try. I wrote a whole book, and I still couldn't get across how just incessant it is, the counting. I'm doing it right now, and it's just all the time. It's an irritation. It's in the way. It's like a veil that you perceive the world through. So this is one of those poems that just try to get across my own irritation with myself and the OCD constantly happening inside. Counting. You could have been counting the foxes tapping their claws across the street at night. You could have been counting diamonds hardening into ghostly fists that knock at the cellar door. The bulbous shells on the lakeshore among the needle-sharp spiraled ones. Such a waste. Hours lost to counting the window panes in this room. Even as beyond the glass, eggs chipped open in the arm of the cottonwood tree, and the nest became an instrument of golden-mouthed horns. You're still here, counting in a pattern so the edges never touch, bouncing from translucent rectangle to translucent rectangle and back again in your mind so no one else can see, as if this ritual would safeguard order in the world. But the baby bird is dragged off anyway by another bird. Your daughter's small hands fill with more needles than she can carry, and inside them she hears the whispering oceans, all of them far away from you. Counting the fingers of your own hands again and again, a steady humming stupor like being carried off in a stream, bumping your head against the muddy banks as you go. You might have had a brilliant mind. but you were busy counting the 4 wheels beneath your bed. Often, come morning, you wake counting the lobbing paces of your heart. Have you done this all night in your sleep? There is a sort of grace in it, after all, counting yourself lucky to be alive. Okay, I want to shift and read a poem from this new anthology called the Surreal Confessional Anthology, which is interesting because I never thought of myself. I was invited to submit to this. The editor is Blea Patterson. I was invited to submit to this, and I thought, am I a surrealist writer? I guess there is sort of a surreal quality in my imagery, but also in my confessional writer, which for me kind of blows my mind because I think I'm not, or I wasn't, for many years. I've published 4 books, and all of them are project books. They're like focused on a specific theme. 3 out of the 4 of them are heavily researched. They're not based on my life. Sightseer, my first collection, is a collection of travel poems, places I did travel, and I am in them, but they're largely about the places and the history. And my second collection, Paper Doll Fetus, is about midwifery and birth and superstitions of pre-medicine in the 1600s, for example, not about me. And so when I wrote Exploding Head, that was really the first time that I wrote about myself deeply. I also never talked about OCD, so it was the first time that I found words to speak about this thing that I think was holding me back from telling any stories about myself, because all of them are wrapped up in my perception of the world, which is wrapped up in OCD. So anyway, this is a childhood story, has my mother in it, and I think it's surreal. I think there's also some kind of OCD stuff in here too. And it's the first time I think I'm using the first person I to actually talk about myself. A friend says the body is also a safe space, not just a warehouse of trauma. Mother took me as a child to Evans Farm, where the peacock revealed an all-seeing universe in its feathers. The attic store sold strips of taffy long as my arm that took a week to chew, and sugar dots with their orange eyes all on me. When we tried to boil our own homemade taffy, it thickened to a lump like an animal heart. My mother says there's a black spot on your heart for every lie. My friend says sometimes when massaging a client, she has visions of planets in outer space, the red eye of Jupiter. If she touched me, would she see a pair of yellow stars frozen just ahead in the road? The lie I told as a teen after the car I was riding in plowed into the trees. All 7 of us climbed out the windows and stumbled down the dark road, forearms glittering with glass. When my mother drove me home and tucked me in, nothing was my fault. The deer that was never there trotted back to the woods, its black heart thrumming. My body ached for days and aches now. There's a knot in my neck hard as a doll's eye. I confess, I secreted a feather from the farm. The whole ride home, its blue eye stared into my heart, saw clearly what I was then and what I would become, and did not look away. When our homemade taffy burned, my mother and I laughed and laughed. Thank you so much.
Cynthia, thank you so much. That's a wonderful reading. Okay, and now such a pleasure to welcome Lauren Russell, who's the author of 3 books, including A Window That Can Neither Open Nor Close, Descent, winner of the Poetry Society of America's 2021 Anna Rabinowitz Award, and is an NEA and Cave Canem Fellow. She teaches at the writing seminars at Johns Hopkins University. Lauren, thank you so much for being here. Welcome.
Thank you, Mike and Woodland Pattern and everybody here, Laura and Jenny and Louis and everybody who came. And Cynthia, it's a pleasure to finally get to read with you. We've been talking about doing something together for a while because both of our books feature grappling with OCD. So thank you. I wanted to start with this just short poem by Alice Notley, who is a big influence on my work and practice and many other people's. And I know we'll miss her. So this is from Margaret and Dusty. All my life, since I was 10, I've been waiting to be in this hell here with you. All I've ever wanted and still do. First dispatch from the listening room. How did I become less than a sentence, you say, like one lone amoeba who quakes under the scrutiny of 5,000 unyielding microscopes of uncertainty? In the time of the virus, you begin to catalog all your griefs and their subordinate scabs. Love collapsed and dead cat, and also months of inhaling only your own exhalations. Or do you mean exhumations, say the wary green eyes of newfound cats? Your labels refuse to join with verbs. Your fragments want to remain inactive. When your glasses fog up on your evening walk, 2 hours before they abruptly split down the bridge and break apart, you tear your face mask off and smell, for the first time in how long, charred flesh or exorcisms roasting on a backyard spit that just keeps spinning. The sky darkens, aflutter with winged dinosaurs of anxiety. Pterodactyls, pteranodons, passenger pigeons, moping geese. You think they are flying away from the jars, but the sky itself is bottling them. In this time of virus, sentences coagulate into knots. Predicates are freight elevators for hauling griefs. This one's full of that enormous apple of Magritte's. You'll be riding into the future progressive with too much rot and nowhere to breathe. A lot of this book is also concerned with diagnosis, and this is like a 12-minute piece. This will be most of my reading. Now that I am closer to 39 than 38, I have located a psychological evaluation from the summer I turned 15. Why was this printed on such thick paper? Nearly 15-year-old biracial female who was seen for a psychological evaluation to assess her current level of functioning. 16 tests were administered. I was wearing a stiff red Mexican dress from Olvera Street, my favorite, high-waisted, patch of embroidered flowers at the bodice, and 2 sprigs down the center as red flounced in a smooth line to my ankles. Lauren expends a large amount of effort attempting to make sense of information from the environment. The narrative summary is 25 pages long. While Lauren was cooperative, she was also guarded and concerned about the nature of the tasks she would be required to complete. The psychologist's email address will sound silly in 20 years. Although she desires to relate to other people, Lauren views relationships with a sense of doubt and discouragement and anticipates negative outcomes regardless of the effort she makes. Why don't I remember that it was summer? Why was this printed on such thick paper? Why was I described as sarcastic for pointing out that an ink blot does not resemble anything real? Why was I described as critical for asking, what is this for? Why was I given 16 tests in 3 sittings over 1 week? I'd say I was very patient. Lauren is more conservative in interpersonal situations than most people, making it difficult for her to directly express her needs to others, e.g. completing a phrase as, "What hurts me is that I'm not allowed to be my whole self around so many people. I have to hide pieces of myself lest I offend them." Why did no one evaluate the statement? Lauren expends a large amount of effort attempting to make sense of information from the environment. Why did no one evaluate this statement? Throughout the testing, Lauren shook her leg and foot even while completing tasks. While writing this poem, I shake my leg and foot continuously. I would do this unconsciously, even if I were wearing asphalt draped over my knees like very thick paper. Decades after the 16 evaluations, I learned this is called stimming, derived from the word stimulation as in self-stimulation and also as in 16 incomprehensible tests administered in the course of 1 week could not be described as stimulating. Why did no one evaluate the statement? Lauren's self-image is based more on fantasy than real experience, which leads her to having a less mature, distorted notion of herself. The postdoctoral associate administering tests in the office of Jerry F., PhD, licensed educational consultant, bore the initials SJD. What did SJD stand for? Sad, jaded delinquent, sequentially jaw-dropping dance moves, seriously jacked up delusions? SJD, PhD, began to wonder if her life was off on the wrong track. She began drafting an email to her retired graduate school advisor. "Dear Professor Emeritus X, every day I open the door to the testing lab, and it's like spiders are skating around in my skull. Spiders on skates." As she closed the door, she remembered that her retired graduate school advisor did not use email and communicated only over lukewarm Folgers or fax. So she cut photos of spiders from encyclopedias and middle-grade National Geographic picture books and pasted them onto the frilly figures of figure skaters torn from Sports Illustrated. She fed each of 7 photocopies through the fax machine patiently under a cover sheet with the subject heading, "Brain Imagery." Why did no one evaluate the statement? Lauren has particular difficulty making sense of unstructured situations. My highest score on the Burke scale, 16, was for excessive self-blame, followed by excessive withdrawal and excessive suffering, tied at 14. Burke's behavior rating scale was the creation of Harold F. Burke's PhD, copyrighted in 1977. Why was it still administered 20 years later? On Burke's scale, my mind can be codified into a mountain range of greater and lesser peaks with tundra in between. But the graph of my profile on the CBCL 4-18 Profile for Girls problem scale is impossible to read. Maybe a wandering hill, maybe a spider skate park emblazoned with neat numeric columns by a CPA graffiti artist. What is the distinction between withdrawn and depressed, between the profile of a skate park and the profile of a wandering hill? Emotions are confusing for Lauren. She often experiences positive and negative feelings about the same situation. After our last appointment with Jerry F., PhD, licensed educational consultant, After she went over the results and suggested a social skills group where for 3 months of Saturdays I would sit with other girls playing pick-up sticks and have to explain to the leader that yes, my mother is white, and no, I am not adopted. After the discussion of findings and recommendations, and after we walked to the parking lot, opened the doors, started off, drove southwest for half an hour, and were nearly to our house, my mother and I both fell asleep in the car. I was awakened by an airbag socking me in the face, the force of Toyota hitting tree trunk, stiff stench of smoke. For a moment, I was relieved to be dead. When the police arrived, they asked if I was the driver. I have never driven. Today, I am closer to 39 than 38. While writing this poem, I shake my leg and foot continuously. Only now I know this is called stimming. After our last appointment, as my mother and I sank into a burgundy Toyota Camry that was about to make its last journey, Jerry F., PhD, licensed educational consultant, opened her file cabinet and imagined slashing all the reports with pinking shears. Some she would make into celebratory streamers, and with others she would collage violets and daffodils, and the rest she would transform into origami birds and snails and porcupines without quills. The very thick paper was manufactured in a mill you could smell from the highway. They called the paper asphalt, and it was meant for resumes, for letterhead, the stateliest, the best. Why did they use a font with no serif? In 2006, Harold F. Burks, PhD, creator of the 1977 Burks Behavior Rating Scale, self-published a book called 101 Character Profiles, a Writer's Reference Guide, which suggests diagnoses and psychological sketches as stock characters to propel plot. It is not clear from the book if the depressed child profile will eventually grow into the loner or the guilt-ridden adult. What are the stages of the Bildungsroman? Why did no one evaluate the statement? Emotions are confusing for Lauren. She often experiences positive and negative feelings about the same situation. She experiences feelings very intensely, which makes it difficult for her to bring closure to emotional situations, as she gets wrapped up in the situation and is unable to back away, e.g., endorsing the phrase, "At times I feel like smashing things." The year before I was seen for a psychological evaluation to assess my level of functioning because I was failing, I had been an exceptional student. I'd won several trophies in the Camino Real Speech League. I earned an A+ in English, and the teacher wrote my parents a note about what a talented writer I was and how they should be proud of me. When they showed me the note, I screamed, "Now you will expect an A+ in everything," and smashed all the trophies. Burke's guilt-ridden adult is a lost cause. Of course, if you like, you may have the character attempt to alleviate his or her miseries and gain moral exoneration by flagellating the self, attempts that normally fail. But if you want to get a story character into a pile of trouble, Burke suggests, make him or her into a kleptomaniac. Suppose SJD, the postdoctoral associate testing administrator with her skull of skating spiders, was also a thief. She stole small-time office supplies, Post-its, paper clips, the thickest paper in the cabinet. Before she faxed her former graduate school advisor, she started searching Rorschach tests for spiders. Lauren Russell is a nearly 15-year-old biracial female who was seen for a psychological evaluation to assess her current level of functioning. Cognitively, Lauren is currently functioning in the very below average to superior range. Lauren is better able to function in situations where she is able to rely on her verbal skills and solve problems using learned knowledge than she is in planning, organizing, and solving novel problems. Why don't I remember that it was summer? Why was this printed on such thick paper? Why could no one untangle the text of an origami spider web? On the sentence completion test I wrote, my mind is small and compact and crowded rather than wide and spacious. Now that I am closer to 39 than 38, my colleagues at the land-grant university are suggesting that I could be house hunting. It is an oblique way of asking if I'm staying. Even if I could belong to a place, the idea of home ownership would still be overwhelming. Am I a real adult? Today, my developmental stage is between a skate park and a wandering hill. I rent an apartment near the bus line in an adjacent city, and this draft is a novel problem I am still unraveling. How very below average to superior is this poem at becoming? The red Mexican dress is hanging in my closet. I've moved 16 times in the last 20 years and have carried it everywhere, like a selkie's skin. So Mike showed you the free broadsides that are in the back. I want to demonstrate how they work. And this is also in the book. So in the book, you can cut these sides out, tape them, and it makes a smaller version of this, which some of you years ago saw the paper version, but it kept getting crushed when I traveled, so I had it made in wood. But I'm just going to demonstrate it. So we'll do like 3 rolls, we're done. So does somebody want to roll? And then you know how it works. Sorry, guys. All right. Where to? On the carpet, I guess? If, in the blue noon, my body of windows gasps and cracks, all my shutters rattle like a storm's approaching fast, shutters of ankles and hips, shutters of toenails and skin. Rat-a-tat-tat, shutters groin and arching back, lips, elbows, rat-a-tat. And all my jams yowl like feral cats, frames bloat, heat struck, pains convulse, contract, implode, aspirate, and shatter, ack, aw, ah. And above, beneath, within, between, you're asking a question that blooms in me like a tulip, and I am begging you to inhale its sepals all at once. Can't you see this gaping hole where a wind, was, and now, yes, slowly, pluck. I visited a book club the other day where they had no idea that half of these were love poems and half of them were breakup poems, and I just didn't understand how that was not obvious. But anyway, someone want to roll? Thanks, Brenda. So now you all cut it out and tape it and make it and roll it, right? Yeah. It's funny you roll the exact same line. Want me to? Dripping Tyrian purple on your lips and neck, I've again fallen back upon the spread, buoyed by tales of lucky crossings and horseshoes mounted upside down, cathedral naves and buttresses splayed to wake the day. We're reeking maroon on the room when you angle from the side, swift, eyes wide as skylights closing in, and the whole world's gone cerulean. 2 for love poems. Somebody want to roll a final roll, Mike. If, when sunset's seeping, my body of windows gasps and cracks, maybe a window is inside out, maybe it was hung like a song with the chorus torn out. Between the window and the frame is a gap. The gap is expansive, glad handing all the intruders or guests. One is a snarled lullaby drifting out of a throng. One is a sodden name for thorn. One is a katydid playing the role of a leaf. She's given away by her tremulous wings. She plods across my pillow, drags one rear leg like a bum. Deal. Every window is a zazura. Every maimed katydid is a gap in flight. I was impersonating a maple leaf in autumn, feverish and brash, until I lost myself in the camouflage and got blown back. Maybe window is a portmanteau of wind and ow. Or is it wind and awe? Thank you.
Lauren, thank you so much. That's fantastic. And then we got to play a fun game, too, which was great. And thank you again, Cynthia. Just wonderful readings. Thank you so much to all of you. I invite you to please stick around. Of course, check out those books. Grab a broadside while you're also buying a book. But generally, just enjoy the good company and have a lovely evening. Thanks.